I'm recording this both on my Hollyland, which is my webcam A1, and the Olympus at the same time, just so you could see it. So yeah, here we go. I started a gaming channel not too long ago, and I wanted to stream some gameplay, as one would want to. As I said before, my main streaming rig is the Olympus EM1 Mark II with the 17mm f1.7. It's a great setup, and it's a camera that I've pretty much retired from my regular work, so it's been relegated to this being a webcam. I originally purchased the Alice camera, but they took off the webcam feature. I'll perhaps do a long-term review of it as a paperweight that I've waited well over 3 years to get. Anyway, it's a pretty annoying setup to rig to set up and set down, so it's pretty much anchored onto my desk. Now downstairs in my living room, I decided that I wanted to also stream playing a few games on the Switch 2 with my best friend. I wanted a webcam that would look pretty decent, just because my laptop doesn't have the best webcam, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of money on a dedicated setup like I do up here. Not to mention, I have 2 cats that also use that TV stand as their own little play area. During my search for webcams, the only 2 that I was considering were the Razer Kio Pro Ultra and the Yololiv Yolocam S3. They both have larger than average sensors, fast lenses, and a fast tracking autofocus. I'm someone that takes a really long time to decide, and in the few months that I was deciding, Hollyland actually released this camera right here, the Lyra, which hit 2 needs and 2 bonuses. It's got a larger than average sensor, a fast lens, and the 2 bonuses is that it's cheap, which is a rare feat nowadays, and it has a great accessory. If you don't have any type of setup for streaming at all, this camera actually has a A1, which is what I'm using right now to record the audio. Let's talk about the competition. The Razer is the largest sensor of the 3 with a 1/1.2 inch Sony Starvis sensor and a 27mm equivalent. I think it's f1.7. It's also an AI powered imaging tracking and AI tracking with objects and AI exposure, which is needed considering it doesn't have a face detect autofocus or any of the newer tech, but it's also $400. The Yololiv Yolo S3, camera S3, has the second largest sensor of the 3, and it has a 1.1. I try to memorize these things, but it has a 1.1/1.3 inch sensor with a weird f1.85 lens and a 24mm equivalent. So it's the widest of the 3. And that camera actually has a phase detect autofocus, making it faster and accurate without having to rely on any AI help. And it's actually half the price. It's at $200. The Hollyland Lyra, this camera right here, has the smallest sensor of the group. It's a 1/1.5 inch, which is actually still 3 times larger than most webcams, which are usually a third of an inch. And it has a 26mm equivalent, f1.8, so definitely not a slouch. It's, still larger, still fast, and it has great autofocus. The best part is, okay, so the camera's $150, and for $10 more, you actually can get you get this camera, this microphone, the Hollyland A1, which is from my experience a pretty good microphone. I actually had one for a little bit, which I used on my iPhone, and it worked. It was really great, and it was pretty cheap, which is why I bought it. Anyway, this makes the Lyra a near complete tool for anyone wanting to stream, and it's just $160. I mean, if you add in a cheap panel light and whatever accessories you need for gaming or reacting, that's it. you'll be ready to stream or record yourself after that. Both the Hollyland and the Yolocam have phase detect autofocus, which is important for accuracy if you're trying to hold things up, um, like if you are reviewing gaming stuff, or if you're holding food or whatever. It's actually really useful for that kind of thing. And that having phase detect is a bigger benefit than using AI assist tools, because sometimes the AI assist tools do not work very well. The razer is the weakest in this category because it does not have phase detect autofocus, and that's slightly disappointing considering that it's double the price of these other two cameras. But it is also understandable because it is the oldest of the three. But with that said, it does have the best design sensor. The Sony Starvis 2, which is known for having the best dynamic range and the best low light performance in this category of sensor size. I cannot compare the image quality between these three cameras. I don't own all three. That's a lot of money, but I do watch a lot of comparison videos, as a lot of you probably do as well, and it really is clear the razer is a superior camera. If you want a great comparison video, check out BadIntent Stream Tech reviews video on the Yolocam S3. I'm going to go ahead and link that somewhere below or up here somewhere. But let's check out how the programs look at themselves. Okay, so this is what the Lyra app looks like. Please forgive me for how it looks weird. Those white ends, they're not actually white on the app. I don't want to screenshot it. I don't want to screen record. I'm using OBS to record everything just because it's higher quality. But the white area, just pretend that's gray, and that's what it'll look like. So not that big, not that different, honestly. In the app itself, it's pretty basic. Top here, you can choose between landscape and portrait. As I showed earlier, the camera has a magnet where you can shoot in portrait and landscape. You can change the frame rates here. I prefer 4K 30. You could rotate these 180 degrees, or if you are going to be shooting in portrait mode, this will, oh, right. So you actually have to end the live cam for you to be able to switch it, but I'll do that I'll do that later. If you hear rustling or a ball, a jingly ball, I have a new cat. His name's Purin, and he plays with all the toys. All right, so to get the most out of this camera, you are going to need a pretty bright light. It is not the best in low light. Not, I can't contest how, I can't compare it to the other two cameras, but maybe one day I'll be able to get that and do a proper test. But in the meantime, I already sent you a link on who you can see, so you can have a better comparison between both those other two cameras, the razer and the live cam. I can't remember at the top of my head. The live cam Solo 3 or whatever, the S3. But that guy did a phenomenal job of breaking it down, and it's a pretty long video, so highly recommend. But in terms of the Hollyland Lyra, these are the settings that I recommend. These others are going to change for you, maybe, but especially white balance, because I have a yellow light. But okay, let's just break it down. I keep it as white as possible. If I want to crop, I'll crop into it. I'll crop in OBS instead. I keep face priority on. Anti-flicker. This is for the hertz, depending on what region you live. I think that, yeah, so if you have anti-flicker off, you can actually change the shutter speed in more depth. But but I just keep it at 60 hertz because all I really need is 1/160th of a second, because it is the 180-degree rule, shutter rule, in terms of cameras. I'm shooting at 4K 30, so you want to keep the shutter speed double what the frame rate is. So 1/60th is what I'm going to keep it at. And ISO, I want this to be as low as possible. That's the reason why I have my lights in full blast. It gets noisier. Here, I'll show you. So, oop. If I bring the light down to 10%, and I up the ISO to max, it brings out a lot more noise in the image, and that's because the base ISO is the native ISO, and you want to keep it as close to that as possible. Oops, so I just have to bring up the light as bright as I possibly can so I can bring down the ISO as low as I possibly can. And you could clearly see the difference in quality. Tried 100. I would love to get a light bright enough to get to 100, but this is like a good middle ground for me, where it's not blinding me. It's only a 30-watt light, so it's not uncomfortable to look to have. But 250, maybe even 320, that's pretty clean actually. Let's see 400, because my camera I actually keep at 400 ISO. My Olympus I keep at 400 ISO typically. Yeah, it's already pretty. It's already getting pretty bad there. I think I'm comfortable at most at 320 is where I probably wouldn't want to go any higher than that. But with my current light and setup, 250 is it. So you're gonna have to play with that on your own. I have my white balance at 3200 because my light is 3200 ISO. My is 3200 Kelvin. Exposure, you can't change this if you're manually choosing this. If you prefer to just have the camera do everything, or the app do everything, just hit this button. It'll auto set everything. I don't like that because it'll always expose too bright. Well, you can manually expose down. Yeah, it's still. Yeah, I guess if you choose -3 exposure, but my mind doesn't work that way. I prefer being able to control everything. So let's change it back to 3200. Oops, dang. I wish this was, I can click on that, but you can't, so that's kind of annoying. 3200 ISO, white Kelvin exposure. Oh, that's weird. It wasn't clickable before, so that's kind of off-putting. It's throwing me off a bit. Oh, ISO, there you go. All right, so if any of these is automatic, if that is an auto, then exposure will be clickable. But let's change that back. Yoink, 3200. Okay, all right, that's back off. Whoa. 20 now, 350. This is maxed out, right? All right, cool. And then contrast. The camera itself has decent dynamic range, surprisingly. But I do want to see more of the shadows. If you look like these ends here, It's really nothing like that right there. It's pretty washed out, and you can barely see my skates and then my shoes. So I just play with the contrast down a little bit. Not too bad. Just enough so you can see a little bit detailed that something is there. I mean, it's really just kind of trash back there. I don't really have anything important, but I also just don't like. I don't know. It's a personal thing. Maybe if you don't care, then you don't care. Just keep everything else as is. Saturation. Oh, sharpness. This is extremely important. But my head is grotesque looking with the sharpness in at 50. It adds digital sharpness automatically, and I hate that this camera does that. I hate when cameras do that. So I just changed that back all the way down to 0, and then saturation just a little bit, just so you can see more of the shadows as well. And so I'm not so red. The color science in this camera has a lot of magentas, so I just kind of play with that. You're gonna want to play with it for yourself. If you don't really care, then you don't really care. But I would like the image to look presentable. So, and this is going to change depending on your lighting situation, your room situation, et cetera, et cetera. So you really would have to play with a lot of this stuff and your lights. Now with the filter, this filter, it's a color filter. You can change the hues. I mean, I don't recommend playing with any of this. Saturation. Oh, actually, hold on. It's it's not really. I'm not doing anything better. Hold on. I'm learning this as I go. No, I don't like it. So I'm gonna take that out. But yeah, I guess what you're gonna have to do is play yourself to see if this is actually something usable for you. Put this right here, like my cheeks. Maybe it might be my monitor. I don't know if you're gonna be getting this, but I don't like that. Ew. Hey, hold on. That looks a little bit better. Oops, there's burn. Dang, look, see my skin isn't even that bad. I don't know. This makes me look terrible. I don't want to play with that. It's fine as is. Just turn that off. And then, yeah, so it's pretty limited here. You can change the field of view. So I can get it to be closer to what I typically like. And I can't remember how many megapixels. I'll put it up here somewhere, but I think it's like 50 this is a 50 megapixel sensor, which is pretty outrageous for a webcam. The Razer, I think, it's a Sony Starvis 2, and I think that's really only, oh my god, it's only 8 or 9 megapixels. That's really what I feel like these large sensor webcams should be. But yeah, the Sony Starvis sensor, I'm pretty sure is pretty expensive, so they're doing whatever they can. It really just crops into the image, but look, 50 megapixels, and I'm pretty detailed. Like no, it's not bad. You see a lot of detail in that, even if it's cropped in. So if you really need it, then cool, that's there for you. There is a smart framing, so it'll follow my head. That's kind of neat. Yeah. If you move around a lot and you didn't want to get the Ozbot actually has a gimbal head, so that would be if you move around a lot in your studio, you probably need that instead. But this is okay alternative for 150 bucks. Um, I don't want that though. There we go. And then overlay. Just I haven't actually stuck with any of these, but blah, that's what it looks like. Hmm. Oh, there we go. Oops. That's just if you have layers, if you want to crop it. Oink. I don't know how much of this you guys are actually gonna play with. I don't use any of that stuff. Ooh, so that'll open up a if you have custom animations, videos, whatever, you can add that stuff. I don't. Here's the beautify stuff. This I don't like using. Oh, my cat is on my bookshelf trying to push down a camera, so I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna pause real quick. I mean, it actually doesn't smooth it too badly. But man, this like makes me look extra oily. And I know I have this, but the rest of my face, you can't even see that in real life. It's picking up things that are under my skin, I feel like. Hmm. I don't know how I feel about that one. Okay, so that's not too extreme. Honestly, it's not too bad, I think. I still just don't prefer using them. And if you have a green screen, there's a green screen setting. I don't have a green screen, so can't show that to you. But yeah, pretty good here. Okay, real quick, I just wanted to show how this whole thing looks on. Let me take this off. How this whole thing looks on MacBooks or on Macs. I'm on a Mac Mini, M1 Mac Mini, if that matters to you. So it's older. It's not the newest Mac series, but works for me. There is quite a bit of a difference. I just plugged it in and then turned it on, and what's cool is it does save it in the camera because all my settings are. Oh, let me use this. Whoop, there you go. All my settings are exactly the same from when I unplugged it from my Windows machine and plugged it into this. So that's really convenient. Literally all my settings are exactly the same. ISO, white balance, contrast, saturation, sharpness, everything saved. Now you'll see that there is quite a bit of difference. One, for some reason, the window capture on the Mac records the image for whatever reason. It does not do that on my PC. So maybe I'm doing something wrong there. I'll check it out again and refer back to it. But other differences is the there's a few things that are missing, like beautify. You don't get to put any more filters in the bottom here. Oh wow, you can't see my mouse either. That's weird. Okay. Anyway, yeah, you can't see anything in the bottom. So there's definitely some missing features, but I did hear that Hollyland's going to be updating that to make it so it's closer. Actually, the first day that I plugged this into my Mac Mini, I don't even recall seeing any of these. So since I've had this camera for about a month now, and in that span of the month, they've already added these. And that's kind of cool. So it'll only get better from here on out. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this before. I think maybe in the unboxing, which is a different video, but the Hollyland actually has a privacy shutter window, which I can't recall the other cameras having. But I like this because it's literally on the camera and you just twist like that. I'll record it right here. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But yeah, it's a great camera overall. I think now I'll insert my closing from here on out. Okay, this is Future Alpaco speaking. I'm on my PC with the Hollyland, and I knew something was weird when I was recording this on the on my Mac, but the image quality looks completely different between Mac and PC. I'm actually on recording this through OBS, and there's definitely no way to show the image from the window here. I've tried multiple different ways, and it's not doing anything. And then here, I'm going to enlarge the actual, because what I've had to do is just kind of do a window in window thing, just so I can show the whole thing. It's very clear that there's like a weird contrast difference between the PC, recording on the PC and recording on the on Mac. Don't know what that is. It's annoying, that inconsistency, but that is something that you may want to be aware of. Luckily, I'm only using this for on PC typically, unless I'm doing a Zoom meeting with client or with my day job, which in that case the image quality doesn't even work, doesn't even really matter. So no, at the moment it doesn't really bother me, but it may bother you, so just wanted to note that there. There we go. You're seeing this all in real time. All right, so back to the app. Yeah, so here you can actually record the resolution, but you can't do that in the Mac version. So that's, yeah, you can switch and rotate 180, 90, and mirror. Like I said, you have the filter and the beautify. Hopefully they'll add that to the Mac version. All right, that's it. Back to future me. Now, for me personally, I just wanted a really good webcam. If I wanted the absolute best image quality in a webcam, I would have gone with the Razer Kiyo Pro Ultra. That would have been the best. It's still lowest megapixel out of 3, but it's the best sensor design, with the best low light performance, and has the most dynamic range of the group. It's a couple of years older than the others, but maybe there's a Mark II coming out sometime in the near future. I wanted to like the Yololiv S3, and on paper you'd think that should have been a very clear winner, being half the price of the Razer and only being $30 more than the Hollyland, with slightly better performance and features. But while this camera isn't the best of the group, it is cheap enough and has this usable microphone that is basically what sold me. It saves me from having to buy a dedicated microphone for streaming in my living room. And yeah, so that pretty much ends that. I so far do recommend the Hollyland. Thanks for watching, and if you wouldn't mind, follow my other channels. I started a gaming channel and a film and TV review reaction channel. I'm doing a little bit less in this channel, but hopefully I'm going to start doing a little bit more. I'm doing a lot better mentally, and I'm starting to pick up steam in my filmmaking outside of this whole thing. So it's hard to do videos, but I'm gonna start being I'm gonna start recording some of that my things that I do for filmmaking, and maybe just using this channel to upload that. And I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I do still have a lot of things to record. Like I said, I do have that Alice camera, the long-term review. I've had that thing for almost a year now, and it is basically a paperweight to me. Now, but enough about that. I'll save that for later. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you. Actually recording this simultaneously on my Olympus EM1 Mark II, which is still my regular YouTube camera. And I've had this camera for 10 years. I've had this camera for 10 years, and it is still my favorite camera of all time. And I don't care how many cameras come out. This has been with me. This knows me more than even some of my friends and my family. So just a little side note there.